Hi, and welcome to the Latvian Football Podcast. Today we are going to catch up on Virsliga as well as talk about the Baltic Cup with a special guest and see what happened in the league since we last saw you and spoke to you. And so we are now halfway through the competition and we are now recording immediately after round 18.
Round 18, halfway through. It's been a nice break with the Baltic Cup, but it's good to have football back on the tracks again after the Riga Derby.
Yeah, so Riga Derby just finished. It's, as a reminder, last game of every lap. So second lap is done and Riga Derby is done as well. Do you want to start with the Riga Derby or shall we catch up on the table?
Well, the table's looking, it's flipped around a little bit. So let's start with the table then, and then we can move on to the Riga Derby, because the Riga Derby didn't change the table too much.
No, it didn't change anything other than give Valmiera a bit more advantage. But overall, I think nothing much has changed. We have three teams that are competing for the title. I think that's pretty obvious now. Riga, RFS and Valmiera, not in this order. Then there's two teams competing for the final European spot. Surprisingly, it's Auda and Daugavpils. And Daugavpils, of course, is the surprising one, but, good on them. And then there's everyone else. Luckily, we don't have a team like Supernova last year that just lost to everyone. So competition is still ongoing.
So I disagree with what you just said. I think there's been a complete reversal from the lower league and the top five teams. If you look at the form in the past 10 games, Daugavpils have scored 2 goals and conceded 17. They were a wall at the start of the season. They didn't concede anything. Tukums are now in trouble. 1 point from the past 10 games, 3 goals scored, 15 conceded. So they're not really they're firing blanks up front, and they're a very attacking team. Jelgava slowly got a bit unlucky against Grobina on the weekend, conceding 2 90-minute goals on a 2-2 draw when it ended up losing 4-2. And then Liepāja, fifth best team in the league in the past 4 games, scored 6, conceded 6. So I think Liepāja are going to come out of this, and there's going to be a sudden change in clash of who's at the bottom.
Well, yeah, but if we're looking at the tendencies, so Auda, which is in number 5, is 7 points ahead of Tukums, which is in number 6. Okay, 7 points is not that much, but I mean, Liepāja is sitting at 15 points after 18 games. They're not going to get relegated. No one seriously thought they would be, but are they even contending for a European spot at this point?
I think that Liepāja have more. They've got more clout in terms of what they can do in the transfer window, and they can make quicker changes. I think you've got teams starting to struggle a lot more, particularly Tukums, Grobina. They're going to be hit and miss. They're lacking squad depth at the moment. Jelgava, I mean, I can't see much change occurring there unless they make some changes. And I think Daugavpils are just going to drop. But the most exciting thing is the 2 new managers, I think. I think there's going to be some changes there.
We'll talk about that later. But okay, so we have in this 6th to 10th position, we have Tukums, Grobina, Meta, Liepāja, Jelgava. And you seem to be outright gloomy about all of them. So what do you think is happening?
I'm not necessarily gloomy, but I think Jelgava have just... They've either got fitness issues, they don't have a big enough squad, they got unlucky last game, but nothing is working for them. They've got a guy who's scoring a few goals, but they are nothing what they were compared to last season. And Tukums, I just think they're just out of ideas at the moment more than anything.
Yeah, they do seem a little bit out of breath.
Yeah,
one sense.
What are your thoughts on the current league and in terms of where it's going, trajectories for the
You mean like the bottom 5 or the top 5?
Bottom 5 and even the top 5 afterwards.
Top 5, I think Daugavpils are gonna get back on their feet. The summer transfer window is incoming. Yeah, they'll probably lose a couple of loanees, but they might get some players to replace them, and they do tend to be surprisingly successful in their transfer policy. Occasional years, such as last one, notwithstanding, but they have the Didiu, he's fantastic this year. Traore is on loan from Auda, also great. I think that they're gonna be okay. Will they compete for a European spot? No, I think Auda will overtake them. I'm very excited for Auda's new manager. I think the team has been a little bit stifled or artificially constrained under Almeida. And I think there's going to be an outburst of energy and enthusiasm now. Plus, their main striker, Ramirez, finally on form, scoring like nobody's business, and is now at least as we're recording, joint top scorer with Riga at 12 goals.
Yeah, hat-trick and 2 goals. Well, he said 2 braces, 7 goals in 3 games. He's well on form, Ramirez. But Riga FC seem to be not hitting the goals they need to be. Although they scored 4 against Meta and 2 against RFS. But you never know there. Auda hold a lot of power at the moment in the league, I think. They've got the new manager and they've got a couple of loanees out. And they could damage Daugavpils in the transfer window, depending on what the agreements are.
I mean, keep in mind that a fair number of Auda players are on loan from Riga, whether formally or informally, including Ramirez. So Ramirez gets recalled, Auda are left basically with no cannon up front, and so things can still happen. That being said, I think Auda are going to be fine. I thought they're going to be fine. I think they're going to sit in the 4th place at the end of the day. And but the top 3 are very interesting. I think it's pretty well, to me at least, it seems pretty clear that RFS are on point to win the league, to retain the title and win the league again. They are now 5 points ahead of Riga, but Riga and Valmiera are head to head, and not to forget, Valmiera are still on this 3-point deduction, which might get appealed against.
Yeah, I think RFS and Riga, they've both taken 13 points in 10 games. Their ratio of goals are relatively similar. RFS had a good start, and the next few games are going to be an interesting one, the next few rounds. But RFS, I can't see Riga catching them up. No. I think Valmiera could potentially challenge them.
I think Valmiera are going for silver, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about what's going on in Valmiera, Paulson Clement, fully recovered. He came from Montpellier, formerly of Marseille as well. He is well on form. Ndoye Burka, 4 goals against Tukums, with Burka 4 assists. You never know what could happen with Valmiera. They're going to lose a few players, but I think we'll probably go into the Valmiera drama later, but they seem to be coming out of the end of a bit of disruption.
One would hope, but mind you, Valmiera's disruption was never on-field related. Most of the drama with the club is with the club, not with the players as such.
But they're doing something right, Valmiera. They've only conceded 2 goals. They've scored 21. They've dominated Tukums completely, and they're the only ones beating the top 2. So
yeah, and they finally have a consistent goalkeeper to thank for much of that.
Yeah. The goalkeepers had a really positive impact, and it was a correct thing to do. I think there's definitely less errors going on.
Yeah.
In that back line.
In terms of RFS and Riga, the second Big Riga Derby took place at the newly opened LNK Sportoparks. Well, the main stand looks fantastic. We were there. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. I thought RFS again dominated, and that Riga again were lucky to go away with the draw.
I think RFS were better in the first half. They missed a penalty. They should have won it based on the first half. But they switched off and they conceded. And RFS, if you know how to defend set pieces with RFS, then you've got a chance of beating them. I think they
not according to Valakari. He said they know how to defend set pieces against RFS, and it's still a little bit of you need to pray even with that.
Yeah, I don't feel some of the teams in this league are doing enough to train for set pieces, and RFS are getting away with aspects of their game that teams should be stopping them, particularly set pieces. But the Riga Derby was a brilliant experience. I like the new stand it's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Great views of the game. It's in an interesting area. You've got I love the island next to it as well, where LNK Parks is the TV tower and that area. But I'd recommend going to watch RFS play, because that's a whole new league experience now.
Yeah, the stadium is brilliant. There's LED billboards which give this nice modern atmosphere, and it's just nice. It's like if you take up pictures from like 5 years ago of that area and look now, it's stunning. And then keeping in mind that this was all developed using private funds, which for Latvia is pretty unique given that all stadiums are owned by municipalities.
Yeah.
And because of that, they have that annoying running track. Not the case here. Private investments, private funding. It's just, I love it. It's so
there's
nice.
a bit of a party going on there as well, and the Riverside Lions were in good voice for the derby as well. The game itself, if you were neutral, first half was disappointing. Second half, lots happened, and Riga game made some changes at second half, and same against Meta. They were 0-0 against Meta, and then against RFS 2-0 down. Made some clinical substitutions.
Niang, absolutely immense.
Yeah. So RFS couldn't defend the right back couldn't defend Niang. Why he didn't start the game? In hindsight, you've got an older, slower right back who was just.
Well, Niang famously is very injury prone, so maybe that. Dashkevich, who did start and was completely swallowed up by Savlenieks, is sort of a bit of a more midfieldery winger than Niang, so maybe the idea was to keep possession and try to build up, but RFS dominated midfield in the first half. There were zero options. Riga struggled to handle their pressing. They just... At one point we were sitting, remember I said, like, look at this gap between Riga front line and defensive line.
Yeah.
It's like you could fit another game of football in between them.
Yeah, they weren't the most organised in the first half, and it was a disappointing start. They didn't go into they didn't start well. They didn't come out of the blocks well in that first half, but it turned out to be a 2-2 in the end, and looking forward to the final derby.
Well, Two more.
Two more, rather, yeah.
Another one in Skonto and another one at LNK.
We have some of the highlights for the football calendar year.
Yeah.